What's up, y'all? It's your girl Candid with Kayla, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you will subscribe, like, and turn on those post notifications. So today is going to be my very first reaction video, okay? And hopefully you guys like these. If you do, just drop down in the comments section, tell me you like them, and let me know what else you would like me to react to. I'm going to be reacting to, I can't talk. It's kind of late. I need to go to bed. But anyway, I'm going to be reacting to the 5 disturbing individuals that you would never want to meet in real life. This is from the channel Top 5 Unknowns. Make sure y'all go follow them. Go check them out. One of my favorite channels to watch on YouTube. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it.
Canada has a reputation worldwide as being a polite nation, filled with kind and good-natured people, and nothing terrible ever happens there. Canada is a great place to live, but it also has its fair share of terrible crimes. While serial killers in Canada may not be as popular as they are in other countries, there's no denying that they've seen some heinous crimes committed over the years, and the stories will shock you. Here are the 5 deadliest criminals from Canada you don't ever want to meet. Number 5. Leopold Dion, nicknamed the Monster of Pont Rouge, was a Canadian sex offender and deadly criminal. At the age of 17, Dion first came into contact with the law. He was convicted of gross indecency and sent to jail for 4 months. 2 years later, in 1939, after he joined the army, he was charged with an offense far more serious. He attempted to take a street worker's life, but was acquitted of the charges. In 1940, Leopold and his brother brutally attacked a woman with a weapon. The 2 men thought that she was dead and left her on the road, but luckily the woman survived and then testified against them. Leopold received a life sentence, and his brother got 10 years. Jail did nothing to stop Leopold's sadistic sexual urges. He pretended to be a photographer. His deadly first victim was a young boy, and he was able to convince the boy to take his pictures. Leopold was carrying an old camera, but it didn't have any film in it. After gaining his trust, he wanted to continue elsewhere, so he drove the boy into the country to a remote spot where Leon committed the crime. During his trial, he was well defended and ended up only being convicted for a single murder instead of 4. Dion was sentenced to prison for life in 1940. In 1956, though, he got paroled, and while on parole, he was convicted of gross indecency involving a homosexual act with a young boy. He then returned to prison and was kept there until September, when the parole board decided once again he should be set free. On the 10th of April, 1964, a judge sentenced him to get the death penalty, but the death sentence commuted to life imprisonment by the Governor General of Canada. On November of 1972, Dion's life was taken by a fellow inmate who was later found not guilty of the crime because of insanity. Criminal psychiatrists involved in Leopold's trial described him as a sexual monster with a human face. In total, he preyed on 21 boys and took the lives of 4. Number 4. Earl Leonard Nelson was an American and Canadian criminal. An odd-looking man with a receded forehead, protruding lips, abnormally long arms, and unusually large hands that led to his nickname, the Gorilla Murderer. Nelson's childhood was difficult. His mother and father died of syphilis before he was 2 years old. Around the age of 10, he was hit by a car and remained unconscious for 6 days. After he awoke, his behavior became erratic, and he suffered from frequent headaches and memory loss. By his teen years, he was out of control and began his criminal career early. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison in 1915. Later, he was committed to a state mental hospital after behaving oddly during his short stint in the United States Navy. He managed to escape 3 times from this hospital. Nelson began engaging in sex crimes when he was 21 years old. In 1921, he attempted to prey on a young girl, but stopped when she began to scream. He was committed once again to a state mental hospital, and after several escapes and attempted escapes, Nelson was released from the institution in 1925 and started on his crime spree in 1926 with the first victim. Nelson's victims were mostly landladies whom he would approach on the pretext of renting a room. He often studied his worn Bible, using it to keep his victim at ease and off guard. Once he'd gained their trust, he would end their lives and sometimes do awful things with their bodies. He was arrested twice in Canada, where his crime spree ended after 5 victims. He told the police after his arrest that he only does his lady killings on Saturday nights. He was given the death penalty in January of 1928.
Now, what? What in the world did I just listen to? What did I just hear, y'all? The first 2 videos was just crazy. Crazy. That dude had a rough life though. Like, probably if I had like syphilis at birth and got hit by a car and like my parents died, I would probably want to kill people too. Oh, I hope I don't get demonetized, y'all. I'm not a killer. I don't want to kill anybody, but I'm just saying that, like, that's a hard life. What did y'all expect out of the boy? Like, what more could you expect? Y'all, my stuff always dies. I'm gonna do better at charging up before I get started. But anyway, back to where we were.
Number 3. Robert Picton was known in his hometown as a multi-millionaire pig farm owner from British Columbia. He and his brother, David, registered a non-profit charity, the Piggy Palace Good Times Society, where they would throw raves and wild parties in an old slaughterhouse frequented by locals. These events attracted as many as 2,000 people and include many street workers and members of the Hells Angels group, a worldwide motorcycle club whose members usually ride Harley Davidsons. In 1997, he was charged with an attempted crime but released on $2,000 bond, and the charge was dismissed by January of 1998. It wasn't until 2002, when police searched the Picton farm on illegal firearms, that they also found personal items that belonged to missing women from the area. Over the next couple of months, Picton was charged with 27 counts of multiple homicides. When he was arrested, a $70 million excavation project found the remains of dozens of missing women and evidence that Picton had both fed the bodies to his pigs and mixed it in with pork that he sold to the public. But in the end, he was convicted of the deaths of 6 women. He was also charged in the deaths of an additional 20 women, many of them street workers and drug users from Vancouver. In December of 2007, he was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years, the longest sentence available under Canadian law. In January of 2007, he confessed to 49 other cases to an undercover police officer posing as a cellmate, and he told them that he wanted to do these evil acts to other women to make it an even 50, but that he was caught because he was sloppy. His act is the biggest criminal case, and his farm became the largest crime scene in Canadian history. It seemed that the entire city was feeding on pigs that had been fed by the culprit. He was sentenced to life in prison, and it's hoped that he never gets to see the light of day again.
I just gotta stop there for a minute, because did y'all just hear that? That was absurd. This man's feeding these girls to pigs and feeding the pigs to the people, so the people just eating pigs and girls, and he just got life in prison. Now, y'all know, I hate to be the one to bring this up. I don't like to talk about race, but if he was brown, they'd have offed him on the spot. I just don't know about this leniency, like life in prison. I just feel like that was not enough. He needs to die. Let's go on to the second video. Let's get this over with.
Number 2. Clifford Olson Jr., known as the Beast of British Columbia, was involved in several cases of young boys and girls going missing around the city of Vancouver. Police honed in on Olson as one of the primary suspects. Over 1980 and 1991, he took 11 victims' lives. His MO was to kidnap, take advantage, and end their lives. His first victim was found on Christmas of 1980. Olson was arrested in August of 81 on suspicion of attempting to abduct 2 girls and was charged after taking a woman's life. Though Vancouver police had an exceptionally strong case, Olson managed to manipulate them to reach the controversial deal, with authorities agreeing to confess to over 11 homicides and show the location of the bodies of those that were never recovered. Though Olson offered them a last-ditch bargain deal of 20 more bodies for $100,000, and they refused. In return, authorities agreed that $10,000 for each victim paid into a trust for his wife and then infant son. His wife received $100,000 after Olson cooperated with the police, while the 11th body was considered a freebie. In January of 1982, Olson pleaded guilty and was given several life sentences. While in prison, there was a plethora of public outcry about the payoff. Olson was nonetheless found guilty and sentenced to life. In 1997, he was denied parole, for which he applied under Canada's Faith-Hope Clause, which allowed a parole hearing for convicts who had served at least 15 years. Canadian law allows inmates convicted of a first-degree crime to apply for parole after serving at least 25 years. Olson's second parole hearing in July of 2006 was also denied. Olson was once again refused parole in November of 2010. He scored 38 out of 40 on a psychopathic scale, where the standard cutoff is typically 25 to 30. In September of 2011, media reported that Olson had terminal cancer and had been transferred to a hospital. He died on September 30th, 2011 at the age of 71. Number 1. Evas Trudeau was also known as Apache or the Mad Bumper. In 1968, Trudeau joined a motorcycle club. Later, he would be a founding member of the Hells Angels in Quebec in 1977. This was considered to be the most violent outlaw biker club and was infamous for engaging in gratuitous and sadistic violence and often employed by the Montreal Mafia to perform crimes for them. In September of 1979, Trudeau and others broke away from the Montreal chapter to form the North chapter. The group became known for its violent and reckless behavior and excessive drug use. He took on a job in an explosives factory to learn how to handle explosives. This would then lead him to become an expert at building bombs. Standing 5'6" and weighing 135 pounds, with a clean shave and short hair, Trudeau did not resemble the prototypical biker, but he was considered to be the Hells Angels' most prolific hitman. Other Angels weighed about 300 to 400 pounds and had an average height of 6 feet, with long hair and beards, so no one would have guessed that he was the club's enforcer and their primary weapon. During a biker war between the Hells Angels and the Outlaws for control of Montreal's drug trade between 78 and 83, Trudeau caused the deaths of 18 out of 23 victims during the conflict. Trudeau pleaded guilty to 43 of these counts that took place between 73 and 85. Through his 15-year career as a hitman, Trudeau admitted to doing half of the crimes himself with guns, bombs, or other ways. But for the other half of the crimes, he claimed that he only became an accomplice. Frustrated by a drug addiction and a suspicion that his fellow gang members wanted him dead, he became a police informant. As part of his controversial contract with the government, Trudeau was sentenced to life in prison, with eligibility for parole in 7 years. Under his deal, the government also gave him $40,000 over the next 4 years and about $35 a week for cigarettes. He was granted parole in 1994 and given a new identity. He led a secret life doing odd jobs like driving a bus for the handicapped, but after he was laid off in 2000, he slid back into his addiction and preyed on young boys, for which he pleaded guilty in 2004. He was then sentenced to 4 years in prison. In 2006, Trudeau was diagnosed with bone marrow cancer. By July of 2008, the Canadian Parole Board granted him parole and ordered him to be released to an outside medical care facility. As part of this release, Trudeau was not allowed to contact minors or the victims of his crimes. One of the sisters of Trudeau's victims disagreed with the parole, stating that killing for Trudeau was like buying a bag of milk. He doesn't have a soul and cancer is justice for him.
Well, guys, that was it. That was top 5 disturbing individuals you never want to meet in real life. They were actually the top 5 Canadian disturbing individuals you would never want to meet. I agree. I don't want to meet any of those people. Luckily, we won't be meeting them unless we go to prison for the same crimes, and in that case, you deserve to meet them. However, I will say, one thing about this whole video is really upsetting me and my homegirls, and that's the fact that all of these Canadian white men just getting prison, just getting a little slap on the wrist, getting some prison and stuff. I don't know. Did I miss it or anybody got the death penalty? Because if they was all black, even if they was mixed, even if they was Spanish, if they just weren't white, all of these people would be dead. I think that's a problem. That's very problematic to me. you know. But I'm not going to get too deep. I'm going to leave it right there, okay? Y'all make sure y'all drop down in the comments and tell me what y'all think about this video. And drop down there and let me know if there are any other videos y'all would like me to react to, okay? I'm about to get off of here, go to bed. Hope y'all have a good night. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and share this video. And